to see you all out on a Wednesday night. Sunny, spring is here. This is great. My name is Todd Tabutis. I'm Executive Director here at Blue Sky. And we're very delighted that Patricia Galagan has made the journey. Patricia, welcome. To be here for the opening of her exhibition, which is technically tomorrow. So thank you for coming a little bit early to give a talk. Patricia's body of work, Objects of Desire, is the 2013 Critical Mass Solo Exhibition Award winner.
Wow.
And what that means, in case some of you don't know what Critical Mass is, it's an online journeying opportunity run by Laura Moya and where does the other Laura go? Laura Valenti gentleman back there, who both work at Photolucida. It's an opportunity where artists are able to put their work in front of huge numbers of curators, gallerists, writers, publishers, and it ends up being a top 50 scenario where the top 50 people get listed as the top 50, and then from that group, of the finalists, Blue Sky agreed to work with Photolucida to pick a winner every year. So we were very glad to have you, Patricia. So congratulations. Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you. I need to start with a little plug for Santa Fe. There were 3 winners of Critical Mass shows, and 2 of them were from Santa Fe. So how often does that ever happen? I'm thrilled to be here and to have this show, and I'm happy to see all of you here. It's very gratifying to have one's work on the wall and get some human reaction. It's much different from just looking at it on your computer or in your camera. So I'm very pleased to see you. I'm going to start with a little general information about this project. It's called Objects of Desire because it's portraits of people with things that they cherish. People they love, objects, dogs, in some cases good things to eat. Different in almost every case, but the common theme is these are things that people care about. And to give you some context for these photos, they were all taken in Havana, Cuba, over the period of 2 years, starting in 2010. And if you have been to Havana, have people been to Cuba? Any of you? No? Well, they have very few possessions, and we come from a culture where people are defined by their possessions, what they own, what they wear, what they drive, where they live, and this is absolutely not the case in Cuba. So whatever they have has particular meaning for them. So what I tried to do in each of these instances was to find the thing that represented something that they cared about. Now, the way I work is when I go to Cuba, I work with my friend Karen in the back. She's an architectural photographer, and we work with a Cuban photographer who helps us explain our projects to people and helps us get into situations and places and meet people that we would like to photograph. So without that combination, a lot of this would never have happened. So in some instances, I have spent days with the subjects, and in some instances, which I'll talk about, it's been a quick shot on the street. But in each case, I have tried to sort of understand what it was that the person cared about, even if I only had a few minutes with them. I first went to Cuba in 2010, and then I went 2 times in 2011, so I've been there for 3 weeks, and next week Karen and I are going back again to continue our different projects. And to reconnect with some of these people whom I have gotten to know pretty well. One of the things that I like about Photographic in Cuba is they don't have a lot of preconception about how they should look when they're photographed. They're not exposed to advertising or television. I'm sure they have never seen Miley Cyrus twerking. When you photograph a woman or a child particularly, they're extremely open to being photographed. There's no posing, no barriers, and it's something I really like a lot about working with people in Cuba. I really like to photograph the results of a people, and Cuba's kind of perfect. I mean, the Cuban Revolution happened when I was in high school, and I went to Catholic school, and the nuns, they talked a lot about the social justice part of it, but they talked about the fact that this was going to totally change Cubans' lives because they would have no religion to support them. So one interesting thing I found when I went there, that there is a lot of religion that has gone on underground, and you'll see some religious iconography in these photos, things that people have kept for 50 years because they were so meaningful to them. The other thing is, I went originally just because I was curious. You know, it's 90 miles from Florida. We've heard about it over the years, but we've never been really allowed to see what was there, and I just found it very compelling. Hello, come and sit. This is Josie and Miguel, and they come, both of them, from aristocratic Spanish families in Cuba. And they were married just before the revolution, and all of their family members emigrated, left. And they chose to stay. They live in a beautiful Belle Epoque mansion, 15 or 20 rooms. They didn't want to give it up, and when I asked Josie why they didn't go, she said, "We didn't think it would last that long." Karen and I have spent, 3 days, probably 3 entire days in their home. And they are very gracious about allowing us to photograph anything we want. And we have gotten to know them over the years. He died in 2012, so this portrait is particularly poignant. I chose this piece of furniture. I don't know if you can see it. It's a love chair. It's joined. And I had it set up. There's natural light. I always shoot in natural light. I use a reflector sometimes to bring in light, but I don't work with artificial light. I use a tripod when I'm indoors, sometimes handheld, but I always just work with natural light. So I had the chair and I had the light, and I asked him to come and sit down, and he sat down and he took her hand. And then Carlos, who was helping us, he was holding the reflector, he reached under the chair and pulled the dog forward about 6 inches. So and just like that, the photograph was made. This guy is a very fervent communist. He's a block captain. He takes care of things in his neighborhood, and if people have a problem, they go to him. If people want to gossip or report on their neighbors, they go to him. And even though I speak almost no Spanish, he spent about half an hour telling me about all the horrible things that America had done around the world. And he had books about this, which he showed me pictures of American bombers doing terrible things, and went on, and you know, I nodded politely. But here he is. He's with the heroes of the revolution. This is his office. Fidel and Raul when they were younger. Jose Marti, who's a poet that many Cubans are very fond of, and Che Guevara, and his refrigerator, which he's very proud of. But if you look carefully, you know, behind all this anti-American rhetoric, he's wearing a Denver Broncos shirt. So I am looking forward to going back and showing him this photo and seeing what he has to say about it. This is his mother, and we spent several hours in their home. She was very comfortable and happy to be photographed, whereas her daughter-in-law was not, did not let us take a single photograph. But what I love about her is how completely natural and comfortable she is. I'm sure she knows she's beautiful and has always known that.
These objects, did you choose these objects, or did they choose the objects? And I'm a little confused with the first one that you mentioned. Is what is it that is the object that
Each other.
is each other? Okay, so and then on this one over here.
I think his whole communist persona, the paraphernalia, he's very proud of his office and what he represents. I mean, he's a power figure.
So do you ask these people where they would like to be photographed? Do you sort of work together with them to figure out that?
Yes, and we usually I spend a lot of time with them. And some of them live in several rooms. In Cuba, it's fairly typical for people to live in a single room and share a kitchen or a bathroom, but in most of these instances, we had several rooms to choose from, and we would just try different situations, and I would ask them to show me things they liked, or what was their favorite part of the house, and how long they lived there, and it was sort of a mutual thing.
So I noticed that some of the photos don't have people in them and they're just spaces. Is it spaces that some people that are in other photos occupy, or is it just someone didn't want to actually be in the frame?
No, I chose to include those that have no people because they show things that are objects of desire in themselves in a kind of general way, like a refrigerator is a really coveted thing in Cuba because it's hot. And these are Chinese refrigerators, and we saw lots of them. Lots of people are buying them and installing them. And where are the eggs?
Yeah.
The Cuban government distributes food, like sacks of rice. Once a month, maybe you get a chicken if you're lucky. We go on the dawn patrol. We go out at first light, and we just happened upon these two women having a smoke together. And I think for them the object of desire is just this moment, because I'm guessing that they probably live in a single room. A lot of Cubans live on the street. I don't mean that they're homeless, I mean that they spend time out on the street socializing with each other. And the other thing it says, it's very hard to buy a bra in Cuba. And clearly it doesn't matter.
That's another thing that's so fascinating, and I didn't really get it until you mentioned that they have no shyness about, I mean, they haven't been inundated with
Yes.
advertising.
Yeah, there are 3 state television channels that everybody can access if they want to, and the people who are clever or devious can hook up to programming from other countries. They can get channels from Miami. But by and large, they have not been exposed to advertising. I mean, the only billboards you see are anti-American propaganda. And you don't, there's no shopping mall, there's no, nowhere you could go and see a rack of fashion magazines. So they don't have the preconceived ideas that we have about what people should look like.
So when you go there, how are you received as an American?
Really well,
Yeah.
surprisingly well. I mean, the comrade was really the only person, and he didn't do it in a hostile way. It was like he just really wanted me to know, like he knew something that I ought to know. But we had a very touching experience. A man stopped us on the street, because obviously we don't look very Cuban, and he said, "I want you to know I don't hate your country." People I spent the longest with were Josie and Miguel. I mean, I've been in their home for days, and this gentleman and his mother. And this gentleman here, this is Jorge. When we first met him, his wife had Alzheimer's, and he was caring for her very lovingly. They lived in the ground floor of a typical Cuban urban house, which is 3 stories with a central open courtyard. And originally, he may have owned the whole thing, I don't know, we didn't ask him. But they lived in a few rooms, and he cooked for her, he bathed her, he dressed her. And then when we went back, she had just died a few months before, and he was in mourning for her.
Objects of desire, it seems to be that you made some decisions about what
I
the
do.
objects are. of desires were.
Yes.
Was it a question that you asked each of these subjects, or is this basically your vision of what matters to, could you just
Yes,
amplify it?
it's actually both. In some cases where we spent time and I could have a conversation, I did ask them what was important to them, what they did in their lives, what really mattered, what was important in the house, what things they loved. But in some cases, where is the guy with the knife? Over here. This was my decision. We went through a public market where Cubans are allowed to sell produce and meat, and we were told to not linger because many parts of Cuba are really like a third world country, and I think they just don't want this revealed to the outside. I mean, there are flies on the meat and dogs and stuff. So I stood in front of their stand, and when I lifted my camera, he lifted his knife. And I like this photo because I don't really know what that gesture means, but...
He was lifting his tool and you were lifting your
Right,
tool.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, my important thing was the camera. His was the knife. And I don't know if he was playing with me or saying, I know you're an American. But I like that picture because it has a little mystery in it. So to answer your question, sometimes it's my assumption and sometimes I have actually asked them. I mean, that's an instant where I had 2 minutes or less.
And did you choose black and white over color consciously? And if so, could you?
Yeah, I have always worked in black and white, even when I was when I had a dark room. I mean, I've been doing black and white for decades. I have recently started to do a little bit of color. My husband and I have been doing a series about forest fires in New Mexico where we live, and I have used color to show the regrowth after the fire. But I mean, I have decades of work in black and white. I see in black and white, and I just think it conveys, I know this sounds contradictory, but to me it conveys emotion better than color because you have the essence of the thing. This is one of the Cuban photographers I work with and who is a good friend of ours. Her name is Lacey's. She was 40 when that was taken. She was expecting her second child. It was the end of a long, hard day, and she looks tired. And I love that picture.
Some of your previous projects been that you feel have led you to this point?
Well, I like to photograph disruption, as I mentioned, and I happen to live in Mexico, which is geologically a huge disruption. I don't know if you know New Mexico, but the whole state is the result of a huge volcano millions of years ago. So just on a visual level, I live where you see disruption all the time. Cuba, obviously, because of the social revolution, fits into that. And then I also have a series of pictures that I've taken at rodeos, which I think is a disruptive. It's really about the risky behavior of cowboys, but I think that phenomenon of the rodeo, if you follow rodeos at all, these young kids, they literally risk their lives 8 minutes at a time. And then, of course, the disruption of the fire that my husband and I have been photographing. This was, how many acres? 150,000 acres.
196 acres.
Yeah. It burned for 30 days. You could see it from our house. And when you go into the forest afterwards, I mean, literally, it's just dead trees as far as the eye can see. So visually and emotionally, it's very compelling to me.
Children, were you trying to explain what you were looking for in terms of objects that you desire with them?
Yes. Yeah, I asked them if they had a favorite thing, but sometimes you could tell. Where is this one? This is the room of a teenage girl, and this is all there is in the room. There's no closet. She puts her clothes under the mattress, but she has the essentials. She has a fan, and for some reason they put the refrigerator in there. And she was, very proud of this room. She had her own room, which is that in itself was pretty unusual. Sometimes, this is a case where I think I decided. I ask them sometimes to move to be more in the light because I'm working in natural light, and I'll suggest a place they might sit or be, but mostly it's based on the light. And then, as I work with them, it's like a dance almost. They get comfortable, I get more comfortable, it kind of flows.
Next week?
Yeah.
How long are you going to be studying there?
We're going to be there 10 days.
Wow, cool. Are you going to be using those 10 days to go back to this project?
Absolutely. And I hope to add to it. I may take additional photos of some of these people.
Do you have like a shot list of ideas that you're considering to fill, or just
I have a kind of vague idea, but I like to be more open to what I discover. We want to go back into more of these homes that have had total neglect for 50 years. They are, some people call this ruin porn. I don't really like that that term, but it's just so interesting to see what's happened to an environment where nobody could do anything to it. They couldn't make any improvements, and they just live in it. They've adapted to it. I think that's one of the reasons why I like to go visually. It's so interesting and so different from here.
It'll be neat to see what you capture doing your dawn patrol, as you put it. To see, just the culture. If you continue the series, maybe we'll see that Western influence come more, or maybe you'll see more.
We already see many more entrepreneurs. People are allowed to sell stuff out of their houses, and I have a short series of people selling stuff, but I have to tell you, they do not have a customer service mentality. They have a long way to go. I have a picture of a guy selling shoes, and he's holding them in his hands, and he's kind of, he has no interest in what he's doing, really. But we're going to see a whole lot more of that. We don't bring up politics, but if after a couple mojitos they want to talk, we listen. And we don't really offer our opinions, but clearly some of them have access to the internet, and so they're very aware of their situations. They do wish it would change, many of them, especially the ones who are educated. I know a lot of them would like to leave. We've certainly been told that. But they can't really say anything because of guys like this who are listening to them. And if you want to mention Fidel, you want to talk about Fidel, but you don't want to say his name, you stroke, the beard.
Sign language.
Yes. It's very, very interesting. When the Russians pulled out, they went through terrible times. One of the Cuban photographers we worked for said his family lived on cabbage for almost 2 years. They really, they just are in such desperate straits. And I don't have any real sense of how it's going to end, but it's certainly going to be different than it is now.
Leave directly from America, or do you have to go with a tour and then break off from that? Or?
You can go on your own if you're brave. A lot of people go to Mexico and just go and don't get a visa or anything. Personally, I wouldn't do that. I've seen people questioned and have a hard time. We first went with the Santa Fe Photo Workshop, and they arranged our visas, and then to get back in the United States, you have to have a letter that says what you were doing. the Americans care more about that than the Cubans do. So the Santa Fe Photo Workshop arranged that for us. But this time Karen and I are going on our own with a man who originally arranged those letters and visas for Santa Fe. So we're taking the legal route.
Thank you so much, Patricia. That was fantastic.